Yes, welcome along everybody.
Yo, 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 welcome back. It's Roots to Grooves. I'm Jesse Quigley.
I'm Jay Purcell.
Yes, sir, founder of Signl Radio.
Thank you very much. Yes, that is true. There's a fact.
I'm sitting here right next to him, guys. He's a real guy.
I'm real. I'm not artificial intelligence.
He's not what's Satoshi Nakamoto?
Oh my God. He's still trying to get me to invest in Bitcoin.
Hey.
It's gone up. It's gone up, folks.
It's popping.
It might be a zero.
At least it was in January when we are recording now. Hopefully it's still popping in May or May, June.
Yeah.
When this
May-ish.
This may come out.
Yeah, when this may come out.
So welcome everybody. Thanks for listening. We're talking about a band that I did not know about until Jay brought it to my attention. Still Corners.
Yeah.
Out of London, the UK. Give a little geography.
Yeah. They are a musical duo. Greg Hughes is the multi-instrumentalist producer guy behind most of the music, and Tessa Murray on vocals. And it's just the two of them. Their music sounds like it's a full band often, but it's all of the albums music is completely created by Greg Hughes.
Yeah, he's playing all the instruments.
Plays all the instruments.
He said he can do them all.
Yeah.
In a simple manner. He can do a little bit of everything on each instrument.
Yeah.
Which is, a good sign of a well-rounded musician.
Yeah. Self-taught as well. He's a self-taught musician.
Came in kind of late in the game too. It wasn't a big musical family all through his younger days, right? He kind of started maybe in his 20s.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Like it says
the vibe I got.
Says he was obsessed by bands when he was younger. He used to steal a lot of records that his sister had or something like that.
Right.
And was listening to a lot of stuff then.
Yeah, so definitely into music, listening to music, but not particularly making it.
Yeah.
No, not doing childhood talent shows and stuff like that.
He wasn't in bands. He was asked if he was in bands. They were both asked if they played in bands when they were younger, and both of them said no.
Yeah.
So
Tessa she was in choir, high school choir.
Yeah.
So they have some background with music and everything, and obviously they loved it.
Yeah. I think Tessa probably had more of a musical household, it sounds like her dad was more into a lot of different stuff,
right?
And she was around that growing up, but yeah, Still Corners, and
generally very cool. So I mean, little vibe check.
Yeah.
It's atmospheric. It's ethereal.
Yeah.
Tessa's vocals kind of, lovely, soft, breathy, sitting, floating over the mix.
Yeah.
But then, kind of slow to mid-tempo stuff, but also kind of a driving beat within there.
Yeah.
So it's driving.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's kind of nighttime music.
Yeah.
Late afternoon.
Yeah.
It's pretty vibey. It's pretty, like I said, ethereal.
Yeah.
Can call it new wave, dream pop.
Yeah.
Some of it's a little electronica.
Yeah.
I think there was what was the other term? New, new gaze.
New gaze.
I heard.
Yeah. That first track that we just played, The Trip, was their big sort of song that I think caught a lot of people's attention, and that's the first one I heard through Spotify random discovery, I think.
Nice. It's a good one.
Apparently there was a video upload of that just went crazy. I checked it. It has 57 million views.
It's pretty good.
And
it's pretty good.
And they were saying the comment section on that is something that's really interesting to dive into as well. It's very it's crazy. It's like if you go on there, there are a bunch of people like sharing personal stories. There was like one guy talking about how he was recounting his experience of doing psychedelics for the first time. It's like it became like a confessional, like this YouTube comment section. People
laying their lives down on the line,
all inspired by this song. Which is, I mean, hey, like if there is no example better of how music can affect people and be emotive, it's that one. That song that we open with, The Trip. I mean, I feel it just by hearing it. I'm like, yes, it takes me somewhere.
Yeah,
and I feel something very powerful within it. Just and I can see how people just reacted to that. And so the YouTube comment section on that video is a very interesting read. Millions of people.
Definitely check that out. I mean, people are vibing with this. With this group, with these people, with this music.
Yeah,
that's a good sign when you feel a little bit of humility and willing to be open.
Yeah.
When talking about music, if it makes you feel like opening up.
Yeah.
It's digging something out of you, and that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. So these guys are super awesome. I mean, I hadn't heard about these until you brought them to the table.
Yeah.
They're super cool.
Oh, this is a fun fact as well. This is the accident of how we talked about Actress a few episodes ago.
That's right.
It's because I was thinking about this group and I was like, oh yeah, they're called Actress, and I just sent the name Actress to Jesse blindly, thinking it was this group, and then I sat down to do my research and I was like, oh no, I couldn't have been so much wrong.
That's not who Jay was talking about, but we still did it anyway, and it was an interesting.
That was very interesting, actually.
Bit of research, and hopefully it was an interesting podcast too. I think it was a cool one. I like learning about him.
Yeah, rewind that, people. That was a very interesting episode. Darren Cunningham, I think is his real name.
Started as a footballer turned musician.
He was a professional soccer player, football player.
Cool story. Happy accident, we could say.
Yeah. So this is the group I was thinking about. I don't know how I got Actress. Maybe, I don't know. They seem like they could be called Actress and it would still work.
I think it would be, vibes, totally.
But they're called Still Corners. And like I said, it is a duo out of the UK originally. Tessa Murray on vocals, Greg Hughes doing the music. And there's an interesting story about how they met. It was
that is a good story.
Completely by accident. Tessa Murray was on a train in London, and
as was Chris Hughes.
Greg Hughes.
Greg Hughes. My bad.
And this train got diverted and ended up at the completely wrong station in like south of London somewhere.
I couldn't find what happened with the train. Diverted, and they wouldn't tell the guests, the writers, like, hey, we're gonna end up somewhere else, guys, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who knows? There may have been a jumper.
Right.
I don't know.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, this is a whole movie thing. Yeah, it's like sliding doors.
Yeah.
Like that. So they both ended up at this random train station, and then
as far as I saw, they both kind of got off at this station, and they were kind of putting the pieces together. Like, this is not where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Tessa was on her way to choir practice, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm not sure where Greg was going.
Yeah, I don't know where he was going. But,
who knows? Nobody knows. Not even him.
Maybe he doesn't even know. Yeah, where he's going.
Maybe yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so they get off the train and they're in this station, and I think it was just the two of them.
Yeah.
As far there wasn't like a big crowd or something. It was kind of like just the two of them. They got off at the wrong spot, diverted, whatever the story was, and they kind of saw each other.
Yeah, she said she saw this guy that like looked as pissed off as she was about like what the hell's going on.
A little confused,
sort of thing,
maybe.
Yeah, and then they ended up talking. I think she ended up telling him that she was on her way to a choir practice, and then he was like, "Oh, well, I make music, and you sing,
right?
Like, I'm looking for a singer."
Happy accident.
Happy accident. One thing's leads to another. They share contact details. They ended up getting together, doing a few studio sessions, doing some stuff on some of the tracks that he put together. So he already had this idea for the project
without even the name, right? He was starting to work on this project.
Yeah,
I don't think it was called Still Corners at this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was or not. But I think like aesthetically, sonically, he knew what he wanted to achieve and what he was trying to do. And I think the missing component for him was a vocalist, because he can do many things, but he said he can't sing very well.
Right.
He can come up with melodies, which is what he does do. But yeah, he needed that missing thing. And then, yeah, it's crazy. Just a chance encounter, meeting,
Destiny, you could say.
Destiny, yeah.
Because he had been, what do you call it? Auditioning other artists to be his vocalist for this project that he was working on, right?
I don't know about that, actually. I didn't find out.
Oh, I think he was.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay,
I think he'd already been auditioning people and kind of searching for a vocalist.
Yeah.
And so this weird train situation happened and set them on the rails to the correct destination, which is Still Corners.
And this was in London, and Tessa is British, from an area called Tunbridge Wells originally, but Greg is actually from America originally.
He's from Arizona and Texas.
Yeah. And the reason he ended up in London is because he fell in love with a British lady and decided to relocate his entire life to the other side of the world. That ended up not working out, but he, that also wasn't the only reason. I think he was drawn to the UK and London for music as well. Similar to Sean Lee, who we talked about in another episode, who's also an American who relocated to England and based himself in London.
Right.
He said he thought the music he was creating was like people in London were doing fit more with what he was doing. Greg, I guess, was kind of in a similar way. It's like maybe he's chasing that romantic vision of being in a different place. I mean, shit. I'm a living, walking example of a reverse. I came
exactly
here
from the UK
to Seattle, and now I'm doing music over here as well. So I didn't come for the music though. I didn't actually. It took me a long time to actually get music going over here. It took me. I didn't do any music for 7 years after coming over here. I didn't play drums for 7 years.
You came over here for business?
I came. This is a crazy long story. I came here to direct a short film.
Oh, that's right, for film.
Yeah. Met some people over here, actresses and filmmakers. Made a film. Met a girl. Ended up staying here. That's kind of the story, right?
Long story short, the little abridged version. I'm sure we could talk about that. That's the podcast on its own.
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I identify with that whole kind of relocating, changing environments, doing different things.
It's generally growth, or you want to experience something else, and it's a good opportunity. There's a whole big wide world of stuff to explore.
Yeah.
Why stay in your own town? That's also fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying either one. I'm just saying it's all up for the grab.
Yeah. It's interesting you hear people talk about relocating for music though, because of music scenes and stuff like that. I don't really know of anywhere in the world musically where I'd want to be. I know there's like a lot of cool stuff happening in London. There always has, but even when I was there, it just evaded me. Like I couldn't find it. Like I couldn't find the people to collaborate with. I guess that's like fate and life, right? You know, it moves you in certain directions, and you know, if I had found that, I wouldn't be here now doing Signl. So
I never would have met Jay Purcell.
yeah, there you go.
Signal Radio might have never been created if things had been different.
It would have been something else, somewhere else. But here we are. Yeah, that's life. And yeah, very interesting story for them.
That is cool. That is a cool story.
And his trajectory as well. I heard him speak as well in an interview, and I thought he was like Scottish or Irish.
Does he have a little bit of an accent?
He likes. This happens to some Americans. A little bit with Sean Lee as well, where his like accent's a bit fucked up.
Yeah. And you can kind of hear him
is
like Sean Lee, a little bit of a southern Midwestern accent, switch to a little bit of
like
UK.
British kind of. Yeah, it's like I haven't done that yet. I haven't turned American, I don't think.
Yeah. Is that a choice for people? Like I'm gonna speak American now that I'm in America, or is that a?
It is for some people. For me, here's what happened to me: is I came over here and no one could understand the fucking word I was saying because I had a really strong British Cockney like London accent, sort of thing. So like, yeah, no, like, you know, I was. Here's a good example. So, water, right? Water, you know,
drinking water.
Yeah. So, you know, I used to say it water. That's how I used to naturally say it.
It's not even the T.
Yeah, I used to just say water. And Americans say water with a D, right? And
water.
Yeah, so I had a choice over here. I either try and sound American and say water, or I just start pronouncing my T's.
Yeah.
So I chose to pronounce my T's.
I think it's funny how you say Americans say water
with a D,
and it's like still. I mean, with that hard R, you know. Give me a drink of water.
Water. See, there's still a D in there.
No, it's a D, but you got to have the R, not water.
Oh, yes, the R, the rolling R's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I instead of like making my words sound American, I just decided to start pronouncing my words more clearly. Sometimes I mess up. I've seen clips of this show where I'm like, what the fuck is he saying? I can't understand. Barn, but that happened in episode 1, you know, whatever.
I was a little confused for a second, but then it makes so much sense, and then I feel like the dumb one for not realizing it. But you know, it goes to show the way our brains interpret different sounds and language.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just is what it is.
Yeah.
People talking different.
Yeah. So Greg Hughes, like he didn't sound American to me. He sounded like, you know, there are some like people from Scotland,
Scotland
that have a very, very, very faint Scottish accent, and it kind of sounds, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if Sean Connery's not a good example because but maybe a little bit. He sounds kind of American sometimes, right? Sean Connery, the way he speaks. Would you say he's Scottish? Just hearing him speak, like I don't know. Like especially honestly, in the old James Bond movies, like you know.
I don't know the actor well enough to say on air. All right. Any thoughts on that? I'm sorry.
What about
just because I don't want to be completely wrong or
what about Pierce Brosnan? He's Irish, but what does he sound like to you when he speaks?
I have not seen him on TV for a while, so I mean, I'm sorry, I'm dropping the ball. I don't have any good retorts for you.
Well, I guess never mind. Then.
Forget it.
We shouldn't be talking about this anyway. We're digressing.
We're not talking about accents, although we are, and we're talking with accents. So, but anyway, so Still Corners.
Yeah.
As far as I saw, Greg Hughes released the first Still Corners album before Tessa joined in 2007. So
this is incorrect information. I was under the same information as well because on Spotify it lists Remember Pepper, which is their very first album, as coming out in 2007, and their same bio on Spotify says that they met in 2009. So there's a thing there that's
really?
not correct because she's definitely on Remember Pepper, and it
really
and it definitely came out in 2007.
Oh well, I was reading somewhere where Yeah, it said that he released it before she joined. So
Really?
Sure.
Did he?
I'm confused now, but
maybe I'm wrong now.
No, I'm sure you're right. You brought this band to the table, and you have the authority. You were the authority figure for this particular episode.
I don't know.
Either way, we'll assume
I thought she was on it. Because
I'm going with you. I'm sure she was. That was my first impression. I looked into it. I probably read something that was wrong.
Write to us at rootstogrooves@signalradio.com, SIGNL radio.com, if you know.
That's what it's for.
Whether she was on Remember Pepper or not.
Let us know. Oh, we don't talk about our research before we hit record.
Yeah, we just catch each other off guard and we're like, what? Yeah.
Where did you find that? Who, what, when, where, how?
Exactly.
That's the magic of Roots to Grooves. Yeah. You know, we do our separate research and then we come together and have an awesome conversation because we're here to learn and explore with everybody listening.
Exactly, yeah. So, either way though, whether she was on that or not, I do know that he self-released it. Mm-hmm. He said he made 500 copies and he gave 200 of them away. He was selling them for £5.
Were those vinyl?
I think so, yeah.
I think all of their albums are available on vinyl.
They are, yeah.
So,
so they did a run of that. He only has 2 copies in himself left of that. And the interview I saw from 9 years ago, you know, they made it sound super rare and collector's item. But at some point, they made the wise decision to upload it to Spotify. So now it's available for all to hear if you go back and listen to that. And it's cool. I haven't listened to all of it because I just discovered it. I just realized it's on there. Mm-hmm. But
it's technically an extended play EP.
Yeah.
As I understand. Am I right on that or am I also wrong on that? I think it was an EP. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, you're right. It says EP right in front of me right now.
Okay.
Released their debut EP on... okay, here you go. On 13th of June, 2008.
Cool.
Followed by a 7-inch single, Don't Fall in Love, released by UK label The Great Pop Supplement on 30th of August 2010. So there you go. There's some official information that was staring me right in the face this entire time.
Hey,
right there.
A lot of stuff going on. But that's not the record label that they stayed with, right? I think that was the last release they were on that label that you just mentioned.
Yeah, so he self-released the EP and then I guess put that single out on a different label. They eventually signed to Sub Pop.
Right.
For their, I think, first official debut album.
Yeah.
After releasing a bunch of singles, they caught the attention of Sub Pop, which is a Seattle label, everyone.
Yeah. American and local to us here in Seattle.
Yeah. And they put out the first couple of albums, I think. Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things I want to throw out too. Yeah. To everybody listening, that is, these guys kind of retain the DIY atmosphere, and they kind of head that on, and we can talk about it later. But they stayed on Sub Pop for publishing, but they kind of also self-released some stuff, kind of in conjuncture with some of the stuff Sub Pop can bring to the table, but leaving some of the release. Like coming up with artwork or some of the other ideas up to the band Still Corners.
Yeah, so what happened
for Greg and Tessa?
Yeah, I think the first 2 albums were on Sub Pop's label. And then it was at that point, I think their streaming started to go a bit nuts, probably inspired by that track, The Trip. And I think Still Corners realized that they could have more control over what they were doing at that point with their newfound sort of success there by releasing themselves. They just said stuff like, being able... They said they kind of enjoy it, like sourcing vinyl manufacturers and putting together the release.
Kind of getting down and dirty with it. Who's going to do the artwork? We have the control over it. Yeah. And I mean, I understand that. It's kind of fun part of the process of creating anything, of being hands-on. Yeah. You feel yourself making the decisions. Yeah. It manifests into reality, and it's super fulfilling.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but yeah, then so the publishing portion of it is still with Sub Pop, and publishing, if people don't know out there, is really to do with like the licensing of the music itself. So so if you wanted to release a compilation album and have a Still Corners track on it, you would license it from the publisher. If you wanted to put it in a movie or a TV commercial,
Right.
you would go to the publisher, and then the publisher is in charge of collecting the royalties, negotiating the fees of, if a big Netflix movie wants to use it, they would negotiate a bigger fee than they would if it was like an indie filmmaker that doesn't have any money or whatever.
Just some random guy making movies in his apartment.
Yeah. And so the publishing thing as a whole it's a very interesting world, and it is the type of thing that is a lot of boring administration work and contracts,
Pushing
and stuff
papers,
like that.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, bureaucracy. So yeah, having someone in charge of that is probably not a bad thing. They just still take the 15% cut or whatever it is, and that's it.
But it seems like they retained a lot of the creative idea making decisions, and left a lot of that kind of more structured, busy work, up to Sub Pop. So it's a kind of best of both worlds kind of situation, and I think that's cool. Yeah. So I mean, Remember Pepper, cool stuff, good album.
The name was interesting. Like they were asked like how they got the name.
It was from a movie?
Yeah. I'm trying to find it here. It had can't remember the name of the actress that was in it.
I didn't recognize any of the actresses or actors. I don't know anything about that movie.
Yeah, I don't think I saw the movie either, but it was it wasn't the name of the movie. There was just like a character. It was like a dog that was in the movie called Pepper.
Yeah.
And then some line of some actress was like,
right.
Remember Pepper? And
just a quote from one of the mom in the movie or something like that. Yeah. And it struck Greg as kind of intriguing, kind of interesting, kind of funny.
Yeah.
Whatever, he retained it, and I thought it was an interesting line. And
I think he does that a lot. That's like where the name Still Corners came from as well. It was just a line in a poem that he was reading.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, on the subject of movies, it seems like both of them are kind of into movies and directors and just interesting visuals and movie making in general. So they kind of appreciate movies, and they're known to binge watch stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess real quick, so it's like a man and a woman roughly the same age. Yeah. In some interviews, I saw that they're not together romantically. Yeah. Is that true?
They said it. Yeah.
I saw them say that as well, but then I saw some interviews saying that they were both binge watching the same show.
Yeah.
And
they live together. And they've moved several times. So they were
together.
They were in London, and then they moved to Austin for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And now they currently live in Woodstock,
right,
New York. Together, it sounds like.
That's what I gathered as well. So if the puzzle pieces I put together in my head, I'm understanding what they said publicly.
They were asked the direct question: "Are you a romantic couple, or are you just a musical duo?" And they said just a musical duo.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a little sus, Jay. It's a little sus.
It is very sus. I'm not judging. People can do whatever they like.
Yeah, it's good to keep your personal life separate than your public life. That's fine.
Yeah, but if you're moving across the other side of the country to several different cities and you're binge watching shows together,
that's what I'm saying. The binge watching shows
like a couple.
You don't just binge watch shows. Like binge watching a show is kind of a personal thing. So if you're doing that with somebody else, like I don't binge watch shows with anybody.
Not just anybody.
Like you don't just do that. Hey, like buddy, like platonic male friend. Do you want to come over and watch 9 episodes all day and just lay in bed together and watch it platonically? That doesn't happen. So
no one said anything about them laying in bed together.
I put that into the story. Sure. Maybe they're on separate couches. Fine. Anyway, it seems, I just got the vibes in my brain.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Sus. It's sus.
It's sus. So we'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
Publicly, they're not together.
I'm going to say they are, because they like the way they talk about each other and what they're into, and well, actually I forgot to say this. I saw them play.
You seen them live?
Yeah. At Barboza, which is a
awesome.
Tiny venue. We've played there.
Underneath Numos.
Which
is also a cool venue, but Barboza it's a cool kind of venue that's underneath another venue.
Yeah, for people that aren't in Seattle, there's a venue called Numos, which is It's not big at all. But it's a fairly good size. I know people like Jack White has played there.
Some
I think
pretty big acts play there though, and me,
Tricky has played there.
You and I have both played there as well.
We've both played there as well. Yeah,
which is cool.
And then downstairs they have this like basement kind of venue, which is cool. It looks like a little it's not really cabaret, but it's like it looks like a seedy.
It's kind of speakeasy vibe.
Speakeasy vibe, yeah. Super small venue. Yeah, and I saw them play there, and the reason I went is because I had discovered them on Spotify, and you know, I don't do this very often, but I was just like looking through the music listings because I lived in the neighborhood, Capitol Hill, where this venue is, and I was like, okay, what's up? And I saw them were going to play, and the tickets were only like $20 or something like that, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going. So yeah, I went there, and they're both super friendly. I think it was just three of them. It was both of them and a drummer playing live. She was super friendly. She was like walking around talking to everyone.
They seem like nice, chill, down to earth people. Tessa live, it looks like I watched some of their live stuff. She plays keys.
Yeah, I think so.
Keys, you know, synth, whatever you want to call it, different sounds. I think she used a couple pedals for vocals.
Yeah.
And then Greg is on guitar.
Yeah.
Like straight up lead guitar and rhythm guitar, kind of doing both of those.
Backing track laptop stuff.
Right.
Bit, I think.
And so they kind of have, some maybe a bass or some extra synth, pretty sounds playing along with them, and he's triggering those. And then they have a live drummer.
Yeah.
You know the name of the live drummer so we can shout him out? He looked pretty cool, but I don't have it off the top.
I don't have it off the top either.
That's fine. Look it up, everybody. You got the internet right in front of you.
Yeah.
No excuses.
He's, they might have, I'm not sure if they've gone through different few people, but they have their drummer and sound engineer, they said, is based in Austin. And so that's where they sort of come out from, and whenever when they're ready to rehearse, and now they live in Woodstock, and that they'll fly them up and do some rehearsals and then go around. Yeah, they
don't live with him though. They don't all binge watch together, all three.
They don't live together, but they binge watch shows in bed
together.
Yeah. We don't know this.
Sus.
So, disclaimer somewhere. Sus. Yeah.
Leave it at that.
We need a button that just says sus.
We should get some buttons in here.
Anytime we have some suspicious information on Roots to Grooves.
I was going to bring a bell for something.
For when you want a new drink, and the butler off camera.
We should get a butler, Jay.
Yeah.
That's one thing our podcast is missing. But we'll talk about that off air.
You know, no podcast has a butler. That could be our gimmick.
That could be our thing. We can start that.
Start it, yeah.
Next level. I like it.
Yeah.
So...
Well, before we move on, remember, Pepper, just one thing I wanted to say about this is they said it was heavily influenced by Nouvelle Vague Cinema and Ennio Morricone soundtracks.
Oh, he's a director, yes?
You know, he's a soundtrack composer.
Oh.
Just a composer.
A director of music is what I mean.
You got it right, yeah. He did all the spaghetti westerns, and he's constantly cited as an inspiration. Tori and Wilde mentioned a lot of Ennio Morricone soundtracks as well and his inspirations. It's just interesting.
They're basically wrap it all up. They're into music, and they're into directors. Or I meant movies.
Yeah.
And directors, and kind of cinema in general.
And Day Trippers was the name of the movie.
Cool.
They got that name from. I don't think there was anything particularly interesting about that movie.
I saw something about that though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Check it out. Day Tripper. I don't know. It's a Beatles song. That's all I know. I'll throw in a quick few people that these are influenced by to give the listeners a little bit of a better idea. Maybe you know some of these. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
A couple I know. A couple I don't. Chet Baker.
Yep. Jazz.
Okay. Cool. Roxy Music.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of Brian Ferry, I think, is the singer in Roxy Music.
I didn't recognize that, but cool.
Good, yeah.
And then Nick Drake, who I do recognize,
Mm-hmm.
kind of folky Americana artist.
Yeah, he's good.
Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to like my childhood. I think my parents would listen to Joni Mitchell, kind of singer-songwriter, acoustic, Americana music.
Yeah.
So cool stuff there. So just a little break in there, some influences.
Also, another influence on Greg, he was asked about how he learned music production, and he said he listened to a lot of Steve Albini records. Steve Albini is like a music producer, engineer, works with a ton of artists like Nirvana, PJ Harvey, so many more. He's pretty, if you are into sound engineering and producing, you will know about him, or if you don't know about him, you should check him out. Interesting guy. One thing he said about, Steve Albini said about his opinion on music producers, he says that like it can often destroy records if producers are put in charge of sessions, while the role of recording engineer is to solve problems in capturing the sound of the musicians and not to threaten the artist's control over their product. So I think that's kind of his outlook when he was producing it. He was taking more of a kind of an engineering approach to producing, like focusing more on the sound and the musicality rather than interfering with like the composition or the performance, I think, or something like that. I don't know. But
yeah, reminds me of Beatles, George Martin, the fifth Beatle, helping them achieve these ideas from imagination and manifest them through instruments and in reality.
Or Rick Rubin,
another good one.
Just bringing up Chili Peppers, but I mean, he did way more than Chili Peppers, but Rick Rubin as producer with Chili Peppers has a certain role in that production.
Rick Rubin has been on my mind because he just worked with and produced the Strokes last record.
Oh, he did.
Which is a cool, maybe mix match of artistry and production.
And I have to check out, I think Rick Rubin has a podcast. And
does he? I would be interested because he seems like a super cool, intelligent, vibey, cool guy.
I've heard some interesting things from Kenny. Shout out Kenny Carpenter of behind the scenes Signl fame.
Because
many other things.
About to be on the scene.
About to be on the scene.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to shout it out. Maybe you want to shout it out, but we got a little work in progress.
Yeah.
Work in progress. About to come out.
It may have
this
already
year.
come out. Studio tours.
Don't even know if it's out yet.
I don't even know. It's in the future. I'm hoping it is like.
That's right. Yeah, we're in the future right now.
We're in the future right now. Studio tours. Check them out on our YouTube channel. We're going around Seattle and we're filming engineers and music producers in their studio in their own habitat environment. They're showing us their gear. They're showing us their process.
I'm pumped to see this. I'm
playing
pumped.
us some of their music. Directed, produced, edited by Kenny Carpenter. Yeah, who also
He's a killer.
Who also told me about the Rick Rubin podcast, which I need to check out. So he talked very, very highly. It's like it's talking a lot about sort of behind the scenes music thought and approaches, which is kind of in our wheelhouse. This is what we're talking about here. So we got to check that out.
I definitely want to check that out. I'm a fan of the Rube.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else calls him that. I call him the Rube.
the Rubik's Cube.
Dumb. Yeah. He's got a Rubik's Cube of a mind. He's able to do some cool stuff with cool artists.
Yeah. But Steve Albini is another interesting guy. If you ever watch, he gets interviewed a lot as well in like sort of documentaries about music production and stuff like that. So Greg from Still Corners, when he was learning about producing music, was very much influenced by this guy's approach to doing things. But he still says, Greg from Still Corners still says that he even gets to a point where he tries to unlearn what he learned to make things sound a little bit more trashy. He said in his own words.
You got to know what the rules are in order to break them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of wanted to say those things about that first release, and it's a cool release. Do we want to spin something from it quickly, or do we want to move on?
No, I think we should spin something real quick.
Okay. I'm gonna pull it up. Do you want to say something interesting to the folks?
Yeah.
Home?
Well, kind of a back to the DIY spirit, because I have notes of him listening to Steve Albini records.
Yeah.
And so I mean, Greg Hughes would be calling up studios. Like, how much is this going to cost? Yeah. How long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Can I get this work done?
Yeah.
And he was just like calling around, and he was like, "This is not going to happen. It's too much. It's too much money.
Too expensive
for what I'm going to get out of the project. So I'm going to do it myself." And it's super cool. taking that DIY spirit, and he does a lot of the engineering and production of Still Corner's music.
Yeah.
So I just think that's dope, taking it on your own,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of work to be able to come up with ideas of music.
Yeah.
And then getting the engineering correct to get those sounds that you want.
Yeah. Well, he's like not really much. Well, I guess he's kind of a control freak, Greg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why I think he doesn't always want to work with a producer, or why he wants to retain some of the creative scope.
Like, he doesn't really involve anyone else in the musical process.
Right.
Apart, I think it's gotten a little bit different in, because they've been around for a long time now, since 2007. So they're progressing and changing a little bit. I think he's like, even Tessa is like a little bit more involved in the writing process than she was originally. A few other musicians crop up here and there sometimes. But even in some earlier interviews, he said like the mixing part of it, like actually mixing the albums, was something that he couldn't really give up. But he said he was open to finding someone. I don't know.
It's cool. He's open to the idea.
I don't know if that ended up happening or not yet. I haven't looked into how these albums were mixed, kind of thing. But
that's some detailed stuff. Hopefully, maybe we can get into it on another podcast or something. But
yeah,
just overall, he's taking it all on himself, writing a lot of this music, and doing a lot of the production and engineering. And from what I was reading, he does a lot of the engineering and production, like come up with a guitar part, record it, and the production and engineering kind of is all wrapped into one, kind of mixing it as they go, creating these sounds, producing them how they want, kind of as they're writing, and it's all kind of happening in a slurry, as these songs get written, and they keep working on them, and they'll go back and do it again, do a different vocal, do a different drum, do a different guitar, until they get what they want. And so they're really driven, and I just know how much work goes into getting to that point. It's a huge step to kind of get through a whole recording session and then say, it's almost there, but it's not quite there. Let's redo everything.
Let's talk more about the music production side of it, and this, because I think I have a lot of things to say about this from what I found out. But let's have a little bit of a musical break here.
Okay. Hit me.
I'm going to play randomly the second track from Remember Pepper. It's called Parallels by Still Corners from 2007.
Shadows pass over your eyes. The parallels reflect in mine. Oh.
vintage sounding.
Yeah.
There's not like a lot of bass, like the kick drum or bass isn't really coming through that. It seems kind of like a flat sort of sounding vintage thing out of the 60s.
Yeah, those
cinematic
organs.
Yeah.
It's like a Hammond or what is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like kind of Halloween-y, kind of spooky vibes.
Yeah. So so it's crazy. He's a very good producer. He can very accomplishly create these soundscapes.
Yeah, you listen to that song and you listen to one of their other songs on a later album, and there's somewhat of a stark difference. You can hear what he's able to accomplish on different ends of a spectrum.
Yeah. And so like the way he creates music right now, as he says, he uses Ableton to come up with quick ideas, which I can agree with. I've used Ableton. It's a great tool for coming up with just quick scratch ideas of things and little loops and parts.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
That's kind of what he does. And I've never used Ableton, but it's kind of a more down and dirty kind of DAW.
I mean, you can use it from beginning to end, but he uses it more for the ideation stage of his creation process. Because he says it's not very good when it comes to like wanting to track things out and use different types of mics for like recording different types of instruments and vocal takes and stuff like that. For that, he wants to use more of like a Pro Tools. He uses Pro Tools for that to more like sort of track it out. And,
right.
I can see that. I've bounced back and forth between Logic and Ableton for different purposes, kind of thing. But Ableton, is a great tool for if you just really want to bust out a bunch of ideas real quickly. It's really easy and quick to do once you learn the software to do that.
Nice.
And
you know more than I.
Yeah, and
I'm a Pro Tools guy.
Yeah,
I've been using Pro Tools for like 10 years, and then this.
Oh wow! I've never used Pro Tools. It used to be super expensive. It used to be like $15,000 to have Pro Tools or something.
I mean, for a while, it was the. Like
it's top.
It was the industry standard DAW
for all computer recording. It was Pro Tools. Yeah,
and I think maybe that idea has gone by the wayside a little bit since other DAWs have been stepping up.
Yeah,
as far as I've seen.
Like now, I feel like Pro Tools is still the top for like. I know like people like Foo Fighters, who we mentioned a lot. And Chili Peppers still like to try and use the old school reel-to-reel tape machines when they can, kind of thing. Right. But if they're not using that, they're using Pro Tools. A lot of electronic artists use it as well. I think Logic is not. It used to be used more. It used to be the second peg down from Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm. That I was going to say that's what I used in 2020.
Yeah,
I got Logic and been messing with that, and it's pretty great.
Yeah,
I don't know where it stands in the hierarchy of what's good and what's standard these days.
I think they because Apple messed around with it a little bit. Like we're getting into some technical talk here, people, but like Apple did the same thing with Final Cut Pro. If you're a video editor out there,
I use Final Cut this year also.
Yeah, like when Final Cut Pro used to be really good, and then Apple messed with it, and they made it more like iMovie, and a bunch of people were pissed off with it. And they kind of did the same thing with Logic a little bit, where they sort of dumbed it down and made it more like GarageBand. Which
Logic does feel pretty dumbed down. It feels it's once you kind of know where all the buttons are for doing your basic stuff. Yeah. It's pretty what's the word? Intuitive.
Yeah.
It's pretty intuitive. I mean, that's all I can say, and it's pretty nice. It's pretty the workflow is pretty great.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you're creating music, it doesn't really matter what tool you use, as long as it enables you to really just put together those ideas that you have in your head, or if you don't have ideas in your head already, like something that you can work with easily to, create tracks and stuff like that.
That's the best advice that I've ever heard is just pick one and then learn it.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. All that matters is what the sounds you're creating.
All these DAWs, whatever it is, whoever's using it, whatever your name is, you're just making speakers vibrate.
Exactly, yeah.
However you get to that point, do it.
Exactly, yeah. So, and I guess the other thing to say about Greg from Still Corner's approach to that as well is he says he tries to not use more than 20 channels or tracks or layers of things.
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting. He'll use maybe 6 or 7 tracks for the drums.
Yeah.
And then the rest are maybe a couple keyboard, synth.
Yeah.
Several for vocals, a few for guitar.
Yeah.
1 or 2 for bass, maybe.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty good. And that's a pretty small amount of tracks.
Yeah.
For a full track for a whole record.
Yeah.
Albums like Random Access Memories is. I think those guys are saying like 250 tracks.
Yeah, that's insane.
For one song, for one.
Good luck mixing that.
Yeah, here you go. Get back to me in a week.
Exactly, yeah. Or 2 days. You've got 2 days to mix that.
So I mean, the sky's the limit on whatever DAW you're using, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, another approach is like, again, it doesn't matter how many chats or channels you use. As long as your computer doesn't crap out, I guess. Like
that's get a powerful computer and then do whatever you want.
Because I couldn't back in the day do more than about 10 before my computer crapped out.
That's not a good feeling when you're in the flow state and you're like feeling the creative juices.
Yeah. I used to play because I have all these tracks and then like different effects like reverb and this, that, and the other on things, and then it will play back and it will be like, and you just have to press the space bar and wait for a second. Give the computer a second, and then like press play again.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah.
And it's seemingly simple. Like, here's my guitar part. I'm just gonna add a little reverb. Cool. And then
Can't handle it. Yeah.
I can't do it. And it is. I don't understand the coding and the software and that kind of thing that goes into these creative software technologies.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I respect it, and I just don't understand it. But some in my head, some of these things seem simple.
Yeah.
Don't know how they work, like I said.
Yeah. I mean,
but it takes a lot of work for the computer. It is high intensity.
Yeah, and it can, like you say, interrupt the creative process as well.
But
I think we're hopefully a little bit beyond those days. Computers are a little bit faster now. You can handle a few more tracks, But yeah, so that's kind of his approach with Still Corners when he's on the sort of technology end. And then on the composition end, he talked a lot about getting out of the way of the song. And then if you saw that, where he's basically like, sometimes he'll be in the studio. So he said he has a work ethic when it comes to creating music. Like he'll start at 11 a.m. every day and he'll do it just every day, whether he's feeling it or not. He'll just go in and work on
kind
stuff.
of as a job. I saw Tessa. I mean, I think they both have day jobs. Quote unquote.
At least they did. I don't think they do now. I think they're
maybe that was a little bit earlier in their career.
Yeah, I think
but at least for their first albums, I got the vibe earlier in their career that they both had day jobs.
Yeah.
But Greg would be in the studio more.
Yeah.
And maybe this was I don't know, I'm talking in different segments, but Greg would, like you said, go like a job 9 to 5. Yeah. I'm in the studio, whether I'm feeling the creative juices or not, start pressing some buttons, start doing some chords and see what happens, try to make something.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists find that if you just try to do something, that's the hardest part. Yeah. Just getting started. And once you get started, that's when the motivation kind of hits you and you kind of get in this ball rolling snowball kind of thing, and something starts to happen and you're off from there.
Yeah. He calls it tinkering. Like he'll go in and just tinker with things and mess around with things. Till
you lock in on something like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, so, and then once he has something, he'll work through it and probably get on a good flow with it. But then sometimes there comes the point where he's just kind of like bashing his head against the wall. It's like, this isn't working kind of thing. And, and he said, that's when it's time to step away, because he said that, if a song's good, the song will happen kind of thing. Like, and so the best thing you can do at that point is to step away from it. And there's various ways where they've done that. Like some days he'll just step away for a couple of days and come back to it. Sometimes 2 weeks. Right. There was an instance where they were I think wrote the majority of one of the albums, and then they went on a short tour in the US. They were still based in the UK at this point, and they went to the US for a tour for a few weeks, and then came back to what they had done, and and it was completely refreshing for them, they said, because like the things that they thought needed more work realized it didn't need any more work, or the thing, or you can suddenly hear things with fresh ears and be like, oh yeah, I instantly know what's missing from that, or what I need to add to this to finish it off. And that is really, like, I feel that's the best approach for the majority of creative things, not just music.
Yeah.
But I think if you're writing like words, screenplay, story, or whatever, or editing video, or whatever it is creatively you're working on, I think there comes a point when you work on something creatively where you spend a lot of time on that one thing and you can't really see it from any objective angle anymore because you're inside of it, right?
You're too close.
And too involved.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly, yeah. And so you do need to just be like, put it away, forget about it, go do something else, go live your life, go bowling or play tennis. Apparently they play tennis with each other, apparently.
That sounds fun, man. I'm always trying to find somebody to play tennis with.
I'll play tennis with you. I haven't done it in a long time. I'll do that, yeah.
I'll go pick...
There's open tennis courts around Seattle. We just need some rackets and some balls.
I was about to say, I'll go hit up a Goodwill. They always got some...
There you go.
Some
We'll do that.
Crappy rackets.
That's some summer activities. Not right there.
We don't want no wet tennis balls.
We don't want no wet tennis balls. I don't play with your wet balls, Jesse. No.
I'm done.
Just stepping away, refreshing yourself.
That's great. I think
distracting yourself, doing something else, and then coming back to what you were working on, and then being like, oh yeah, now it's all obvious to me. Like that makes sense.
It's all human psychology. It's another way of like cramming. Like you need to do a test tomorrow. You didn't have any time to study. You only have 12 hours to study. Yeah. Even in that short amount of time, it's like read something for an hour, go away from it, do something completely different, watch a TV show for half an hour, take a break, play some tennis, come back to it. Yeah. And that change, that dynamic for your brain helps you write these, these neurons or whatever, these synapses and stuff, and it helps everything kind of wire together. So yeah, I mean, a great kind of realistic, which is kind of a mental thing and a physical thing at the same time. Yeah. Which is, the mind is the body. Fine.
Yeah. The mind is the body.
Right. Yes.
Let's just pause for a second.
We got to think about this one.
Can you beer me whilst I think about this?
Think about that for a second.
Okay.
I got you.
You're listening to Roots to Grooves on Signl. Talking about Still Corners.
Seattle, Washington, that is.
Thank you.
We should get into some of these albums.
Yeah, we should.
We only hit up that first EP so far.
I know, but 2011 Creature of an Hour was their first album
on Sub Pop.
Sub Pop signed them after like hearing a lot of their singles that they had come out with since their original EP, and yeah, it's still a grey area whether Tessa was on Remember Pepper, but she was definitely on those like singles that were coming out.
Right.
And they were doing live shows, and they had this like a projection. They were projecting like film stuff as they were playing live, and they had musicians with them. And I think that's like the sound of what they were doing, and that performance captured the attention of Sub Pop, and that's how they got signed, I think. I don't know the full details of who, where, what, why, and when of how that happened, but long story short.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that became one of their kind of signature things that, at least for themselves personally, is having an awesome visual aspect to their shows, and that's kind of important to them, for them to show their audience what they're about. They're obviously kind of visual people. Yeah. They're binge watching stuff in the same bed and stuff like that. So
you're not going to let that go, are you?
They're trying to bring this to their live show.
Got this visual of them in bed,
binge watching Breaking Bad or something,
and bad 80s movies.
yeah, or some
Baby Boomer. They mentioned that as like a Diane Keaton 80s movie. Or something.
I don't know. Sure.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sure it's a great movie. But
So
so I mean,
Creature of an Hour was called Indulgently Seductive by NME,
Yeah,
music magazine in the UK. Also, fun fact, the very first website I ever went to when I first accessed the internet, when I didn't know anything to look at, I was like, it was NME. I didn't know about porn on the internet. Come on.
I didn't say anything.
I was like 12 years old.
I didn't say anything. This album's cool. It's dreamy. It's pretty textures, kind of eerie effects, but it's an overall dreamy atmosphere. This is what I'm picking up. There's senses of unease and eeriness. I don't know if they're getting this from some of their cinematic. I think they are getting some of their vibes for what they want to create from these movies that they're watching.
For sure.
But like two standout tracks were Cuckoo and Endless Summer that I would throw out there. It's a good album. It's cool. Those are the two tracks that are my faves.
Let's play Cuckoo for a little bit of musical interlude, because I feel like we're not doing too many musical interludes these days. on this show.
Okay, let's bring it back.
Bring it back.
People are trying to vibe. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's like we're going cuckoo, me and you, stuck in a time machine that was just a dream. Just fall down. Just fall down. I'd like to read your mind. Can you read mine? It's all so very cuckoo. Me and you. We never meant obsession. We should have had confessions. This feels so out of time. Won't get left behind. Just fall down. Just fall down.
Cuckoo by Still Corners.
For Cocoa Puffs.
One thing, a couple of things Greg said about that. I don't know if he was talking about the album in general for this comment, but music, the project in general, the Still Corners thing. He said, I'll never be satisfied with any of it. I need to keep trying new things. He said, Still Corners is the enterprise for me. So That's
Interesting.
Interesting, deep comment there.
Yeah, I was having to think about that for a sec.
And he also said about this album, Creature of an Hour, he said, musically, Creatures was soft and relaxing, but it was a massively cathartic record for me. I was destroyed after being in a relationship. It's all in there. Suicide, all of that stuff. I needed to calm my soul, and Creatures did that for me. Strange Pleasures, the next album in 2013, he says, is more of an adventure out toward the open seas. It's an exploring type of record. Strange new lands, strange new love.
Nice.
That's what he said about Strange Pleasures. So he's very
That's great.
He's a very interesting guy because like you can't find many interviews of them out there. In fact, like the depth we're going into talking about them now is probably like the only thing on YouTube about
Roots to Grooves is the authority on Still Corners now.
Yeah, because they're very I don't want to say quiet or introspective. Obviously, Greg, like in those comments that I just read there, it's very deep and thoughtful kind of approach and outlook. But you can't really see them talking about this stuff, and it extends to their albums as well. That like they were asked, why they don't appear in the artwork.
I saw that
covers for their things, and they said they're kind of shy, and and they said they don't really need people to look at them. They'd rather people see a visual or something else, kind of thing.
I think that's great. I think music goes a lot better with a piece of art, rather than somebody's face. Yeah, because I think music, as music lovers in this room and in this city and across the world, people think music is powerful. They know it's powerful. Yeah, and I think music transcends individual, personality or individuality. Like that's kind of the point. Like people like music because it helps you ascend to some spiritual or next level somehow, whatever that means, or it makes you feel like that at least. Yeah. And I don't necessarily feel like that when I look at somebody's face. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get anything from it.
I mean, you have a beautiful face, Jay.
What am I looking at? Yeah.
But it's like, I don't, when you look at somebody's face, you see like their personality or their life or what that means, whatever. I don't know. It's different than if you look at a piece of, art. Yeah. That's, more abstract. Yeah. And you can't necessarily see why it's beautiful, or you can't explain why it's beautiful or why it makes you feel any particular way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I barely know what I mean. Like I know what I mean, but I don't know if if I'm explaining it the right way.
Well, yeah, no, because it's the importance of in this day and age. It's probably always been this way, but even more so now. I think it's if you create music, that's one portion of it. Unfortunately. It should be the only portion, but it's only one portion of it. Yeah, is how you sonically create and explore those ideas musically and sonically that you want to do. The other portion of it is how you're going to package it and how you're going to present it to people.
In today's music industry, visuals are a huge component of marketability.
And a lot of artists, some of them don't want to think about it. Some of them don't want to get involved in that side of it. They just want to focus on the music, which is valid. Because I think that's their art form, But then you have other artists that that see the value in the visuals and the presentation, like from the artwork of the album covers to the photos to the music videos, and the good art, the wise artists or the good artists, I don't know. It's subjective, but like
totally
see the value in the visuals, and it is an extension of what they're creating musically. Yeah, and we see that with like some of the artists we've talked about, like King Cruel embraces that. Still Corners embrace that. They even Still Corners make a lot of their own music videos sometimes as well. Like
I saw that another DIY facet in their arsenal.
Yeah, road trips with a little pocket camera and filming a bunch of things and editing it themselves or sending it to someone else to repurpose and edit and stuff like that. And there's there's a few other artists I think we've talked about maybe that Tori Moore definitely, I feel like, sees that as well, the visual aspect.
Yeah, completely.
Adrian Young, just in the way he dresses.
Exactly.
Sharp,
I mean,
snappy dresser.
super into fashion.
Yeah.
Always in a, whatever vintage clothing.
Yeah,
or I think he said he liked Ralph Lauren a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my favorite bands, The Strokes, often using a painting
Yeah.
of an artist
Yeah.
as their album cover.
No.
The band members of The Strokes are never in the album cover. I feel if I was to put my face on a record that I made, that feels vapid to me. Like I'm not making music for you to know who I am.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not the point at all.
Unless you're like dressed up as a character and it's part of some story or some kind of
Sure, there's different things you
world
can
you're
do.
creating,
There's
something like
a million different things you can do, and it's all okay. If you want to put your face on your record, do it.
Yeah.
That's a very valid way of presenting your music and your art.
And it depends on the type of music as well, right? Because if you're in the mainstream and you're someone like Pharrell Williams, I don't know. Well, actually, no. He's an interesting. No, I was going to say peculiar. He's an interesting artist in the fact that I think he's done different things. Like Pharrell Williams has been the pop star, like face of everything.
He's been around the block at this point. He's done a couple.
But he's also done like NERD, which is like a different image.
Right.
He's obviously been just a producer behind the scenes of things.
Yeah.
But,
Nerd.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so that was an interesting tidbit. But yeah, I mean, I guess what kicked off our little conversation back there was in the information you can find from Greg talking about these things, he's definitely seems to be very thoughtful, introspective, creative person. I don't think they always get a lot of press coverage. They don't do a lot of interviews. They're like, for a lot of artists, you can like search their artist name and interview onto YouTube and see a bunch of things. Like Still Corners, you can find some stuff from like 10 years ago. Like nothing too recent.
On YouTube, I found like one interview.
Yeah,
and there was like 3 parts.
Yeah.
But it was like one interview.
Yeah. So
which is fine. It just does. I think these people are down to earth, chill people.
Yeah.
Who are just thinking about their art and thinking about themselves inwardly, but that's not what they're particularly trying to project out into the world as a part of their art. They're just living their lives and kind of keeping everything separate. Yeah. And that's great. Yeah. I listen to music for the music. I don't really care what you look like.
Yeah.
Or what. Yeah. Like I enjoy looking at cool art on your album cover.
Yeah.
And the cooler the art is, the more interesting it is, the more I will look at it and the more I'll probably vibe with your music even.
Yeah.
And sometimes it kind of turns me off a little bit to your music if your just face is right there. Because whether we like it or not, we do associate visuals with what we're listening to. And if that's what you're looking at, that's the album art on Spotify or on YouTube, then you kind of automatically do, whether you like it or not, subconsciously associate the image with the audio. Yeah. And people realize that and either use it if that's what you want to do and show your face on the album with your music, if you're trying to promote yourself and your face as a brand. Yeah. Or if you're kind of trying to keep it separate and use a painting or a different piece of art for your album cover.
Yeah. I think it's like way more interesting to...
fine either way.
I think it's more interesting to create an image and create a visual concept. Yeah. That you can explore, and especially, like I say, this day and age, where the part of you that needs to promote your music is a visual medium now. You have to use things like social media and Instagram, and and if you can do something creative that's visually complementary to your music, it's way more interesting than just like booking a bunch of random photo shoots with yourself in like different parks and doing weird shit just to fill your feed or whatever.
Like maybe you love your face, and sure, everyone's face is beautiful, but
yeah,
basically all our faces look the same. So it's cooler to see some art that somebody particularly made for this specific piece of music.
Yeah.
That's more unique than just, here's my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm making music. I'm famous. It's
or I
fine.
want to be famous.
I wish I was famous.
I wish it was.
It's fine. I'm making fun, but like put your face on your album cover if you want. I don't care. So, boom. 2011, Creatures of an Hour.
Yeah.
Cool album.
Yeah, and then Strange Pleasures came out in 2013, also on Sub Pop. That was the title track. There was The Trip, which is the one that we opened up the show with, and is the one that I think is how I found them. I think it's how a lot of people found them. It's what really sort of blew them up. I think, to be honest with you, I think it's the success of that track is why they're not on Sub Pop anymore and form their own record label.
They realized at this point they had a little bit more power than...
I mean, you know,
needing to
57 million views on that one song.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. That's, I mean, you know, kudos to them. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Strange Pleasure, swooning harmonies, lush reverb, cool synth work, starker sounding, icy synths. Some of it's, like good pop arrangement and it's like classic kind of 80s dark wave. These are some of the vibes that I'm getting when I was listening through some of these tracks. So it's a cool one. I would dare to say start with this if you haven't heard these guys and you want to get into them.
Yeah. I got another quote from Greg directly talking about this album as well. I feel like it's interesting to hear his perspective on it.
Always.
He said, I see it principally as a widescreen pop album, clear, with upfront vocals. It's a little epic, but not really retro-futuristic. There aren't a ton of layers this time. Everything has its place and is focused. What I hear is variety. Some reviews describe Creatures as scattershot, but I need that kind of diversity as part of me. Tessa's voice ties it all together beautifully. I mean, that's his outlook on that.
I mean, that sounds apt. Sounds...
Yeah. It was recorded in his studio in Greenwich. Was that in Austin? I'm not sure.
At this point, had they moved back to the U.S.?
I think so, but I don't know. Just like I don't know if Tez was on the first EP or not.
Yeah, some of the stuff we don't know. We're just exploring this as we go.
Yeah.
But at this point, somewhere between 2013 and 2016, they reset up their studio in Texas, right?
Yeah. So in Austin, he set up a studio there.
I feel like actually maybe it was after Dead Blue in 2016.
Right.
Does that make more sense if they went to Texas for the album Slow Air?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So let's just say that Dead Blue came out in 2016.
Yeah, that was the first release on their own label. Which, the label, by the way, is called Wrecking Light Records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of like what you were saying, they felt like maybe they didn't need Sub Pop as much as they did before. But I think after they started Wrecking Light, they still did some like publishing with Sub Pop at the same time.
Yeah, they still do.
And then Wrecking Light did a different part of the release.
Yeah, I think they decided they realized they can just put out their own streaming themselves, and then for the physical copies, they were just wanting to do that themselves. Like vinyl and stuff like that.
So cool. I mean, from Dead Blue 2016, I got some chill wave vibes. Some atmospheric stuff inspired like by maybe Brian Eno. Do you know?
I know Brian Eno.
Yeah, so super cool stuff there, and I was kind of getting some vibes like that.
Yeah.
Kind of, long form, atmospheric, chill stuff.
Yeah.
Even maybe less vocally, less vocals throughout.
Yeah.
Kind of shoegaze vibes. I'm just like reading my notes here. So some of it sounded like bands like M83 or Neon Indian.
I have not heard Neon Indian. I want to check that out. That sounds a cool name.
Yeah, totally. And they have some cool stuff. And M83 does as well.
Yeah. They're French, I think. M83.
Is that true? I didn't know that at all.
I've heard some of their stuff. They're good. Yeah.
Cool. I don't know them that well, but some cool stuff there. I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard them. But yeah, Still Corners does does what these kind of groups are doing, and does it kind of wraps it all into a nice package and does it really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of Dead Blue is a nice little packaged gift.
Yeah.
With these kind of influences there. From there, they went to 2018 Slow Air, which we were kind of mentioning before, which is a super cool album. I think another kind of high point in their discography. And I think at this point they moved to Austin, Texas to set up a studio for change of atmosphere, change of vibe.
Yeah.
I think they've toured in America.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, were a little bit familiar with it, but wanted a change of scenery to kind of escape where they were and kind of explore something new to help influence their music.
There's also a place where he grew up, right? Or lived for a part of his life.
Yes.
So
I don't know if it was the same city, but very close to where he grew up.
Yeah.
He grew up in Texas and part in Arizona.
Yeah.
But I think they moved to a place where he was from in Texas, basically.
Yeah. I think he said it was not far from where he.
Yeah, I don't know how far, but maybe just on the outskirts or something like that. But
and then for Slow Air for this album, he said he wanted to return more to guitar for this album, and sort of basing a lot of the compositions more in that, because he said he's traditionally a guitar player as well. So
I think for Dead Blue, it was a little more maybe synthy, kind of like I was saying, chill wave.
Yeah. He said it was more of a mechanical, synthesized type sound.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so this Slow Air being a little more guitar driven, neo-psychedelia.
Neo-psychedelia.
Yeah.
Can I get a sandwich from there?
Oh, it sounds good.
Neo-psychedelia.
The delicatessen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, cool. I don't know. I really liked this album as I was listening through.
Yeah.
Maybe
they use a lot of on the technical level, a lot of vintage microphones for like miking up acoustic guitars and vocals.
I was gonna put some notes about specific mics that they use.
Yeah,
but then I decided against it because I don't really care that much about.
I didn't care
mics.
either. I was like, I have them written down here as well. SM557, but it's interesting. I think it's more interesting how they were used. They said like one microphone they had, he thought it was like used more for like BBC, like for radio broadcasts. Had a certain sound to it that kind of fell off or whatever. And there's like another mic that he said that was used on stage a lot in the 70s with a lot of people like David Bowie and people like that, I think.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
I just think it comes down to the aesthetic of what the mic looks like and how it sounds to you personally. Like obviously how you sound through the mic, through the speakers. Yeah. But I think it's just kind of a personal thing, basically. If you think your voice, everyone has a different body and a different sound and different, where you're coming from music perspective and what you want things to sound like and where you're trying to go. So it's just another tool in the arsenal of infinite tools on earth.
But it is a tool that can inspire you.
And
I've found is like
totally
when you're using a microphone for a certain thing, and like you use a if you ever get the chance to like use a really good like high grade microphone and mic up an acoustic guitar or mic up your voice or mic up anything, and then you hear it and you're like, oh my god, that's like it's like buttery smooth. You can hear the detail. That can inspire you. Just hearing that can be like, okay, now I feel like I'm inside the track.
Right.
I'm inside the song. I can like do some other stuff now. Kind
sure.
of thing, So it's like, for that thing.
And that's incredibly valid.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, it's completely subjective at the same time, and it's going to be a different mic for different people.
Well, yeah.
In different times.
Well, because you might want a shitty fucking raw tinny sounding dictaphone type sound.
You want to use a Shure drum mic for your vocal on this.
I know some people have like recorded drums real nicely and then they like burn it to CD and put it on a boombox and take it outside and then mic the boombox up and then they get their drum sound that way.
Yeah. So,
like,
there's an endless amount of...
It's like whatever aesthetic you're trying to achieve. Like you don't need...
There's
I think the thing is like you should be chasing the sound or the thing that you're trying to go after, sometimes that does mean that you need an expensive microphone, because there's no other way of replicating that sound that you heard on like some
there are
album or
specific
whatever.
ways to get specific things done.
Yeah.
And that's why different things exist in the world. There's different laptops, different cars.
Yeah.
Because of specific things. Yeah. But if you don't know what you want, then anything could be what you want.
Yeah.
There's not one end all be all best mic.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a gear person. And I'll use like, I'm trying to record something. What's the closest mic to my body right now? That's the one I'm going to use.
Your phone. Yeah.
Like literally. And I'm not even joking. There's a lot of records that people that don't know. I can't name any at the top of my head, but music that you've heard has been recorded on an iPhone microphone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Bonobo uses that a lot to like capture field recordings.
Yeah.
Little things that he'll end up looping and turning into something.
Yeah, I think Billie Eilish uses iPhone recordings. Like she used like a traffic beeper crosswalk thing or something like that. And even people using it for vocals.
Yeah.
So the sky is the limit is what I'm saying. And Jack White like builds a guitar and then, plays it.
Yeah.
Sky is the limit. Use whatever you have available. And do what you can with it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. There's no end all be all. I got to get this mic if I want to be professional.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Use what you got. You got Audacity for free.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the internet. You got Audacity. You can record music. Boom.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my take, because I'm sick of people being like, oh, I got to get the next box. I need this thing, and then we can be good.
Yeah,
whatever so
it doesn't matter. It's
like obviously good things. You get a better telescope, you're going to be able to see farther and clearer than a cheap telescope. I get it.
Yeah,
different things give you
different though, right? You're trying to, that's science.
That's what I'm saying. If you know specifically what you're trying to do, then there's a different product for you. You want to go fast, get a Ferrari. Do you have that much money though? Because if you're just trying to go A to B, then you can get a Pinto for $100.
Yeah.
A couple $100.
That's true.
So I'm just saying it depends on what you're going for and what your purpose is. If you don't know what your purpose is, then there's no mic for you. Any mic is for you.
If you don't know what your purpose is, that's it. That's what it's down to. It's like you need to know what you're trying to do.
And not a lot of people are starting to make music with their end goal in mind. They don't know exactly what they want. They're just trying to create something. But they have it in their mind that I need this piece of equipment because my favorite artist used it.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I'm getting heated over this because people are constantly talking about, I need this piece of gear. I'm done.
Well, yeah, because none of that makes you sound better. It's like we were saying earlier about like using Pro Tools or Ableton or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, really doesn't matter. It's what you create sonically. Like, yeah, but what you're saying though is like, some people don't know their end goal when they're trying to create music, which is fine.
Totally.
But I think at some point you figure that out. Like, if you're just in the ideation phase and you don't know what the end goal is, that's fine. But once you start noodling around and tinkering like Greg does from Still Corners, like once you find that and you start capturing those genies in the bottles and those sounds kind of thing, then I feel like you start to know what the end goal is. Like, and especially if you're going to create an album, like if you're a legit artist that wants to create an album, like, fine, spend that time experimenting, messing around with things, trying to figure out what you do. But once you capture that, then you should start to try and figure out what the end goal is and where you want to head to.
Yeah.
And how you want it to sound. And even how you want it presented visually and how you want to put it out in the world and how you want to tour it.
Sure. I would just always say that the music and what you're writing is always going to be more important than what mic you're using or what DAW you're using or whatever. Like music theory, the ideas, your imagination, how the instruments are working together to create something new.
Yeah.
You know, the writing, the musicality, the music theory, what chords are you playing and how are they interacting with each other
Yeah.
through the vibrations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The writing is always the idea of a song. Like we all know the ABC song, right?
Yeah. Michael Jackson 5.
No, just
Oh,
the
just-
ABCs.
just the ABCs,
That's
okay.
how far I'm going. Like A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Like that's a song. And that permeates all of our brains. We all know it.
Yeah.
But what is the finite recording of that? What mic did they use to make that song? Who cares is the answer. We all know the song, and the song has permeated our whole society, and nobody knows what mic was used for the final cut. Like, who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And a good song will permeate society and people's minds in your community if it's a good song, if the music is there, if the idea is there.
I guess you're right. Like I know you're right. I just like when I think about it though, I think about like, you know, sometimes what you create is not necessarily a song that people remember. I mean, think about like Actress and like and the weird glitchy electronica that he creates.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
It's like, you know, that's not that, and he needs to go through certain things to create those certain sounds, sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, but you're right. They like more often than not. That's a rarity. Like more often than not, you're writing a song, and people are not going to remember how it sounded in the recording. They're going to remember the song itself.
Yeah, the beat, how it makes them feel.
Yeah, yeah,
That's endlessly, that's infinite energy.
yeah.
You can remember your favorite song after we leave here and you're walking down the street and you're receiving value.
My favorite song when I'm walking down the street on the way home tonight is going to be A B C D.
Hey, I hope everyone's singing it. And I don't know who wrote that song,
A B C.
but we all have that song in our head.
You know what it does for me? Is that the lyric for the
A,
Jackson
B,
5
C.
one? I don't know.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. You and me, girl. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
a great song. But anyway, that's my point, The music is in our head.
Yeah, it lives on.
What microphone did the Jackson 5 use to create that song?
Yeah.
Hurry, I need to know, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't mean to be
You made your point
yeah. Sorry, guys.
loud and clear.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's a good conversation, and it's a good point. Didn't really think about that until you brought it up. Really,
That's just what's on my end, because everyone's like, well, what are we going to... Anyway, I already said it. So, okay, blah, blah, blah.
Wait, by the way, apologies to YouTube viewers. The cameras are dead. If you hadn't already noticed, the cameras died.
That always happens on our best episodes.
I know. Hey, well, we're in a new studio now in this future world.
These are just the first episodes we're trying to bring you guys. We have limited materials.
We're up in our game. We have a revamped look and everything to the show.
And we're excited.
Soon in the next.
Yeah.
This is this is the last show in the new studio, in this old studio.
Well, I mean, there you go.
I just realized that.
This is it. Yeah. Literally. The next one
And
will
the
be in the new
cameras are-
studio.
Yeah, the next one will be in the new studio.
The story's perfect. Camera's going out. We need to
Camera's
upgrade.
already out, so you can't see us right now. But yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah,
We're on to bigger and better. Signal is growing,
yeah.
and we love it.
We're moving next door.
We're just up the block, but it's going to be
Bigger, better,
yeah,
more
it's
cinematic.
totally exactly what Jay just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jay, let's close this out because we're not on the last record yet. They came out with Still Corners. We're talking about the last exit in 2021. So brand new. I mean, on the 22nd, I think it came out. So like not a week ago, maybe just over a week ago.
Yeah.
And in this past time,
Yes.
we're here in the future in May or June. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was January 22nd, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome hypnotic journey. I listened to it on my way here.
Yeah. Desert noir
Yeah.
is a way that Greg used to describe it, I think. Some of it was written during lockdown, COVID lockdown. It's full of songs about lost highways, bad towns, the title track being Lost in the Desert with Old Scratch, the devil trailing just behind.
Yeah, and I noticed they announced a European tour
In October of 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to happen. I think
people are booking shows. I saw Polyphia as already supposed to be playing in Las Vegas in 2022.
really.
Yeah, I saw that on their
I mean,
schedule.
I'm hyped. I'm going to go to I think a lot of people think the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people trying to go to a lot of shows as soon as we're open back up.
Well, yeah. I mean, that will be a good thing. I don't know where everyone is right now. Everyone's just disappeared. I don't know what the fuck's
Yeah,
going on.
just all separate, all
This is like I walk around downtown, I see like 2 people and some tumbleweed, and I'm like, oh,
exactly.
fuck. I don't know where I am anymore.
We're in the apocalypse.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm looking forward to it. You know, we're all still here. All the same people that were here a year ago before COVID. We're all still here. People are still creating in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
And you know, people are not stopping just because there's different rules and whatnot.
Yeah, we're not stopping here at Signl.
Exactly.
I was liberated and inspired by COVID. I mean, not directly the virus and the bad shit that's happened with that, but
With respect to that, we were
but the knock-on effects of, you know, lockdown and quarantining and you know, not socializing, not playing shows, not being able to be in recording studios very much or anything like that. Just spend a time for me to focus on Signl and
for a lot of people individually
doing what we're doing here now and stuff
individually looking inward, introspection and reflection.
Yeah.
And able to
Reevaluate. A lot of people are reevaluating what they're doing in life and where they want their job or whatever they want to do.
Yeah, which is an extreme value. A lot of time we can do that anytime, but
now
there's a lot of distractions in our day-to-day life when we got to go to work and we got to do this, do that. And, you know, in my life, that's kind of what happened. I was allowed to have a little bit extra time to reevaluate, like you said, and decide what I want to do and who I want to be, and as an incredible value. But yeah, with respect to a lot of the negative stuff that happened over the last year and a half or so. So I hope everybody's okay out there.
Yeah.
I know. Stay strong.
Stay strong,
'Cause
stay healthy.
Everybody's still out here rooting for you and rooting for each other because we're all a big part of this human experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not stopping one way or another. We're still all here and we're stronger together than we are divided.
You know, it's a prophetic album title from Still Corners, The Last Exit.
Right.
And I just realized this is our last show in this studio.
That's it.
And this last album of this artist is called The Last Exit.
That is
Whoa.
perfect.
I didn't even plan this.
Did not plan that.
And the
I mean,
cameras are down.
we couldn't.
Fuck. Should I put my iPhone on so people can see us?
Yeah. I mean, we could etch this in into the last.
We'll edit this in. Okay, all right, viewers, we're back. Here's Jesse.
What's up? Here, okay, I can get it too.
Yeah, do yours and then send me the video clip and we'll edit it
All
in.
right. You guys, this is unprecedented.
This is the last exit.
We're now on
and the
iPhone.
cameras are down.
Like we just got done talking about, you don't need any special equipment. Use your iPhone.
You don't need a camera, special camera.
We got iPhones, okay? Everyone has a phone. The Last Exit. Here's my notes.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is it. The Last Exit, last show at Signl Radio Studios in this specific spot before we move to a new location.
Well, then we have to play a song from the album, The Last Exit. And this
All
has
right.
to happen. Did you listen to the album? Did you have any suggestions of a track?
Off The Last Exit
play.
specifically?
Yeah.
Let me...
Should we play the last song of The Last Exit? Or the song itself, The Last Exit?
That is tough. I got to go with The Last Exit for the title alone. Let's keep it honed in on that.
All right.
I think it's a good one.
All right, say goodbye to the studio here. And we apologize for the cameras cutting out. You couldn't see us through some very poignant moments in the last conversations here. But Roots to Grooves will be back next week in a brand new fancy studio
Better than ever.
in Pioneer Square, Seattle. But for now, this has been Rooster Grooves. We've been talking about Still Corners, and I can't believe we're playing The Last Exit. That's crazy.
It's perfect. I love it. I love it.
All right, everyone. See you next week.
I've never been this far from home. I've got you on my mind. I've been driving through the darkness, got no destination in mind. And it's a shame that I had to disappear. The last exit. The last exit. I'm drifting off to nowhere. The past and echo on my mind. In the middle of the desert, the devil trailing just behind. And it's a shame that I had to disappear. The last exit. The last exit. My eyes are getting heavy. My will is almost done. The clouds above are gathering, thunder rolling like a drum. And it's a shame that I had to disappear. The last exit. The last exit.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signal Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's signl radio.com.